Here income statement is the new name given for the profit and loss account. Okay, here we are going to study the profitability position of the company by preparing the comparative income statement. Here comparative income statement is the horizontal analysis of income statement. Horizontal in the sense here also like your comparative balance sheet. Here we are going to compare the income statement of 1 year with the income statement of another year of the same company. Means 2 years income statements of a same company, or two different companies are to be taken over to study the existence of companies in respect of their profitability. Okay, so therefore we can explain the meaning of comparative income statement like this. Comparative income statement is a technique of horizontal means one by one. Okay, horizontal analysis of income statement of a company for two different periods for the study of changes in the profit in terms of absolute change and percentage change. Okay, so the comparative income statement is prepared in the same lines of comparative balance sheet, but the data is different. There we are going to study about the assets and liabilities. Here we are going to study about the revenues and expenses, that is incomes and expenses. The way of presentation of the comparative income statement is, first of all, you have to take up the net sales. Here net sales in the sense sales minus sales returns. Sales minus sales returns is to be taken as net sales. Keep in mind, gross sales cannot be shown in the statement. If they are given the gross sales, then out of the statement you have to deduct the sales returns from the gross sales, and then you have to find the net sales. Okay, so net sales, from the net sales you have to deduct the cost of goods sold. Okay, net sales minus a cost of goods sold is equal to gross profit. Sales minus cost of goods sold is equal to gross profit. From the gross profit we have to deduct the operating expenses. Okay, here cost of goods sold means the total expenses made for the purchase of saleable goods. If he is a manufacturer, the expenses made for the purchase of raw material, as well as almost all the expenses incurred for the conversion of raw materials into finished goods. That is, expenses of purchases and expense of conversion activities is to be called as a cost of goods sold. Later we have to see what is the mathematical formula we are going to apply to find the cost of goods sold. Okay, so from the sales, if we are deducted the cost of goods sold, then we have to find the gross profit. If in the problem cost of goods sold is not given directly, you have to go for a separate working to find out the cost of goods sold by applying the standard mathematical formula given to you. So from the gross profit, if operating means trading, operating in the sense trading, what all the expense you are made for the office and administration, selling and distributional. The total expenses made for the office and administration and selling and distributional, in total we are going to call as operating activities. Okay, in detail you are going to study in the subject of your costing. Okay, already your cost sheet is started where you are going to study about factory overheads, office and administration overheads, and selling and distribution overheads. Factory overheads passes to the cost of goods sold. Office and administration and selling and distribution overheads, those two overheads comes in the groups of your operating activities. Okay, so trading expenses are deducted. If there is any trading incomes, they are to be added. Gross profit minus operating expenses plus operating income is equal to operating profit. That is a balancing figure. Okay, to the operating profit, if there are any incomes and expenses which are not directly related to your trading activities, incomes and expenses not directly related to trading activities but related to the business, okay, that we call as non-operating activities. So if there are any non-operating expenses, they have to be deducted. Non-operating incomes have to be added. So operating incomes added, non-operating incomes are also added, and operating expenses deducted, non-operating expenses are also deducted. So minus expenses plus incomes, keep it. So after the adjustment of non-operating incomes and expenses to the operating profit, we are going to get the net profit, that is before interest and taxes. In your financial management, it is to be called as EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes. The same is here is called as net profit before interest and taxes. From the net profit before interest and taxes, we have to get the interest. Interest in the sense financial charges. That is the charges payable on the borrowed capital. What are all the source of borrowings are there by the company? From those borrowings, the company is responsible to pay the interest. What the interest payable by the company on the loans taken by the company is called interest, or in other words, they are the financial charges. So from the EBIT, first of all, we have to give deduction of interest. After deduction of interest, the remaining balance of net profit is called profit after interest, or that may also be called as profit before tax. So finally, from the profit after interest or before tax, if we are deducted the amount of tax, the remaining profit is to be called as a net profit after interest and taxes. So this is the format of presentation of income, that is income statement. Okay, what is the procedure here? Net sales minus cost of goods sold is equal to gross profit. Gross profit minus operating expenses plus operating incomes is equal to operating profit. Operating profit minus non-operating expenses plus non-operating incomes is equal to net profit before interest and taxes. So from this one, we have to deduct the interest. After addition of interest, from the remaining balance of net profit, we have to deduct the taxes. So this is the practical presentation of comparative income statement and also common sense. Okay, whether it may be a comparative income statement or it may be a common size income statement. In both the cases, the way of presentation of the income statement is this one, but the remaining four columns will changes depends upon the comparative or common size. Later we have to see. Next, so in respect of the interpretation of the income statement, first of all, we have to interpret in respect of the gross profit. So gross profit is the difference between the net sales and cost of goods sold. By referring to the net sales and the cost of goods sold, we have to say something about the gross profit. We have to present some information against the gross profit. So next interpretation is, the first one is interpretation of gross profit. Second one is interpretation of operating profit. It is like your income statement. What are the items you are going to find in the income statement? That is gross profit, then operating profit, then net profit before interest and taxes, and finally net profit after interest and taxes. Net profit before interest and taxes, then finally we are going to find the net profit after interest and taxes. Depending upon the components what you are going to find in the income statement, on those findings we are going to give interpretation. That is the first finding is gross profit, second finding is operating profit, third finding is profit before interest and taxes, then finally profit after interest and taxes. They are the 4 points of interpretation. Okay, so what is the gross profit here? Gross profit is the difference between the net sales and cost of goods sold, or in other words we can say the excess of net sales. Excess of net sales over cost of goods sold is called gross profit. Then we have to give the interpretation of the operating profit. Operating profit is the difference between the gross profit. Difference between the gross profit and operating expenses and losses. In other words, we can say the excess of gross profit. Excess gross profit over the operating expenses, inclusion of operating income, is to be called as the operating profit. For the purpose of interpretation of the operating profit, we have to make a comparative study between the gross profit, operating expenses, and non-operating expenses. With the influence or with the effect of these three, we have to give interpretation of the operating profit. After the operating profit, we have to give interpretation on the profit before interest and taxes. Profit before interest and taxes is the excess of operating profit. Excess of operating profit with the inclusion of non-operating income minus non-operating expenses. Okay, in other words, for the purpose of interpretation of the profit before interest and taxes, we have to make a comparative study between the operating profit, non-operating expenses, and non-operating incomes. By taking these three components in consideration, we have to give interpretation on the net profit before interest and taxes. Then the final one is profit after interest and taxes. This is the final answer of your statement. For the purpose of interpretation of this profit after interest and taxes, we have to consider the amount of interest paid by the company as well as the taxes paid by the company. by making a comparative study between the profit profit before interest and taxes and the amount of interest paid and taxes paid. We have to give conclusion regarding the profit after interest and taxes, provided there is no interest and taxes. Provided there is no interest and taxes of that company, then interpretation of profit after interest and taxes does not arise. Okay, so this is the bird viewpoint regarding the preparation of the income statement as well as interpretation of income statement in the comparative income statement model. So in the income statement, we are going to see certain words. First of all, what we call as net sales. I already told you, and also a mathematical formula is given directly in the statement itself. Net sales is nothing but gross sales, means the total sales minus sales returns. If there is no sales returns, what are the sales given itself? We have to consider that one as net sales. No sales returns, given sales itself is the net sales. Then cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold is to be calculated in different ways. So cost of goods sold, I already told you that cost of goods sold is the total expenses made for the purchases and sales, excluding operating and non-operating incomes and expenses. See, excluding in the tagobardu. Okay, so excluding non-operating and operating and non-operating incomes and expense means you have to consider only direct materials and factory overheads in terms of your cost sheet. In terms of accountancy, cost of goods sold is the total of debit side of the trading account. What are the components we are going to present on debit side of the trading account? That is opening stock, net purchases, carriage inward, wages, factory expenses, manufacturing expenses, and any indirect taxes like excise duty, customs duty, sales tax, ACTRA, or any other expenses incurred by the company. What are all the accounting components presented on the debit part of the trading account? Of your mini minds, keep in mind, all the components presented on the trading account debit side is to be get totaled. From the total of debit side of the trading account, if we are deducted the closing stock, debit side of trading account minus closing stock is equal to cost of goods sold for our mental conclusion. So, but mathematically, how we are going to calculate here? See, that is opening stock presented on the debit side of the trading account. Purchases, debit side of the trading account. Direct expenses, here direct expenses, I mean, that is the wages, carriage inward, factory expenses, manufacturing expenses, and all indirect taxes paid on purchase of goods. Means these are all the expenses recorded on the debit side of the trading account. Keep in mind, opening stock, debited to trading account. Purchases, debited to trading account. Direct expenses, all other expenses debited to the trading account. From the total of the debit side of trading account, if we are deducted the closing stock, then we are going to get the cost of goods sold, COGS, cost of goods sold. Okay. Alternatively, if opening stock, purchases, and expenses including closing stock information is given, then we are going to apply this direct formula. It is called as direct formula. In case if there is no information regarding the opening stock, purchase, and expenses, then the alternative formula what we are going to make use is cost of goods sold is equal to sales minus gross profit. So this is indirect formula. Direct formula, trading account debit side minus closing stock. Indirect formula, sales minus gross profit. What are the two items we are not taken in the direct formula? Two items which are not taken in the direct formula is to be taken in case of indirect formula, that is sales and gross profit. So the major components which we are going to present in the trading account is opening stock, purchases, direct expenses, and closing stock and sales. Closing stock and sales are to be presented on the credit side if the balancing figure will be the gross profit. So all the items which are presented in the trading account is to be taken into consideration for the calculation of cost of goods sold. All the components are divided into two kinds called one, or some items are to be taken in the direct formula and some other items are to be taken in the indirect formula. Direct formula is, once again, observe here, opening stock plus purchases plus direct expenses minus closing stock is the direct formula. in the indirect formula, the remaining components of the trading account, that is sales minus gross profit. Okay, so after the ascertainment, this is compulsory. Whenever cost of goods sold is given, no doubt we are going to take up that one directly in the income statement. If the cost of goods sold is not given, if the other component like this is given, then you have to go for a separate working before the preparation of your income statement to find out the cost of goods sold. Keep in mind, okay, whether cost of goods sold needs to be calculated or not, that depends upon the accounting information given in your question paper. Okay, so next, direct expenses means I told you that what all the expense we are made for the purchase of raw material, as well as all expenses made for purchase of raw material, as well as the expenses made in the factory level for the purpose of conversion of raw materials into finished goods. All the expenses which are incurred for the purpose of conversion of raw materials into finished goods in case of a manufacturer are called as a factory overheads in your costing. Factory overheads in our costing. So expenses made for the purchase of either finished goods or raw materials, plus being a manufacturer, what are the expenses they are incurred for the purpose of conversion of raw materials into finished goods, called conversional expenses. Purchase expenses plus conversion expenses totally called as direct expenses. Keep in mind, direct expenses excludes expenses made for office and administration, that is office and administration overheads, and selling and distribution overheads are excluded from the purview of your direct expenses. Okay, so that is here. Direct expenses, the expenses made for purchase of saleable goods from the place of purchase to the place of destination. Place of destination means place of buyer, like wages, carriage inward, primary packing, insurance on purchases, excise duty, customs duty, and actrive. Okay, they are the direct expenses. In case of manufacturer, provided the trader is the manufacturer, sorry, the businessman is a manufacturer. In addition to the above, that is in addition to the above expense made for the purchase of raw material, what are all the other expenses he has incurred for the conversion activities? That is, in addition to the above expenses made for the purchase of raw material, the other conversion expenses like manufacturing or factory expenses, factory rent, insurance, cleaning, etc. Here, rent, insurance, cleaning, etc. related to factory. Okay, all kinds of expenses incurred in the factory building, factory unit, is to be taken as the direct expenses for our income statement. Not only for the income statement, keep in mind in your overall accounting study. In your overall accounting study, conversion expenses are the direct expense in nature. Keep in mind. Okay, next, operating expenses. Here, operating expenses in the sense the expenses which are made for management of the business, that is office and administration, and it includes the expenses made for the sales and distribution activities. So simply we can say operating expenses is the total of office and administration overheads and selling and distribution overheads. Okay, so operating expenses are the expenses related to management of office and other administration activities, including all expenses made for sales and distribution of trading goods, office and administration, and selling and distribution expenses. So you are going to study in detail in your costing regarding this one. Keep in mind, operating expenses is the total of office and administration overheads. One, the second one is selling and distribution overheads, which are to be classified in case of your costing. That is, at the time of preparation of the cost sheet, this classification is compulsory. Okay, but here for our purpose, it is not necessary to make a comparison or to make a differentiation between the office and administration and selling and distribution. We are going to club those two words here. So, for example, purpose, the operating expenses includes salaries paid to the employees, rent, insurance, utility bills, office and administration expenses, repairs and maintenance of plant and machinery, including your office building, printing and stationery, property taxes, direct material cost, advertisement cost, entertainment cost, traveling cost, conveyance, telephone expenses, selling expenses, distribution expenses. I am here highlighted a few items because you are going to study in depth. It is compulsory. Study in depth is compulsory in case of your costing in the preparation of cost sheet. But that much of detailed study is not necessary for us here. Just keep in mind highlighted points. Okay, so that is office and administration and selling and distribution expenses. Then, after the study of this operating incomes and operating expenses, we have to go for the operating non-operating expenses. Here, non-operating expenses in the sense there are certain expenses related to the business, but they are not directly related to the office and administration and selling and distribution. Related to the business, they are covering those expenses are traveling within the boundaries of the business. Even though they are related or they are traveling within the boundaries of the business, they are not directly related to the office and administration and selling and distributional expenses. Okay, they are interest expenses. So whenever the company borrowed any loans, that is called financing charges. Okay, I already told you that that is profit before interest and taxes. From the profit before interest and taxes, first of all, we have to give deduction of the interest. So interest, this is okay, interest paid by the company on any loans taken over by the company. Nothing but borrowings. Next, over time, unusual expenses like reconstruction cost to litigation, that is legal charges. So payment towards contingent liabilities, etc. If any litigations, legal consequences arises on the company, legal consequences not related to the office and administration, but it is related to the business. To protect the interest of the business, in certain cases, the company needs to face certain legal consequences to defend the legal consequences if the company is going to make any expenses, that is like payment of court fees or payment of lawyer charges, that to be called as legal or litigation costs. So next, loss from sale or disposal of any fixed assets. Okay, here assets means not current assets, that is disposal. If you are going to get confusion, say fixed assets. Okay, either there may be a loss or a profit. If there is a profit, may be taken as an income. If there is a loss, that is to be taken as a expenditure. So that is loss from sale or disposal of fixed assets. That is financial or non-financial. Next, impairment loss. The impairment means replacement. At the time of replacement of one fixed asset, that is the old one with the new one, the company may incur certain losses that may be called as the impairment losses. Next, loss from derivative instruments for hedging purposes, that is relative or stocks, that is the shares and debentures. Next, loss from translation of that is translation or what we call conversion, we can say easy. Loss from conversion of foreign currency transactions or translation of foreign currency. If we are going to have any foreign currency, if we need to make exchange of foreign currency into our currency or conversion of our currency into foreign currency, there arises a certain loss. That may also be a non-operating loss, but not directly related to the purchases and sales. Okay, if not for expenses which are not related to the purchases and sales, but they are related to the business, is to be called as a non-operating expenses. Then operating incomes, that is the common incomes which are arising the trading activities, that is operating, that is commission received, discount received, recovery of old bad debts, means bad debts arise during the last year, but they are to be recovered during the year. But already you are covered this one in the last semester in your income tax recovery of rent was there, but in this it becomes very important point in your income tax in the studies of our business and profession. Recovery of old bad debts arrived during any of the previous, that is maybe 10 years back or even 20 years back, but which are recovered, realized, collected during the current year is called as recovery of old bad debts. That is also taken as one of the operating income. Incomes arising in the trading, that is buying and selling activities, are called as operating income. Any kind of incomes earned by a trader or a manufacturer in the course of buying and selling of trading goods, not fixed assets. Okay, so fixed assets passes to the non-operating. Trading goods operating comes in the operating head. Fixed assets and financial assets passes to the non-operating. Next, non-operating expenses. Sorry, non-operating incomes. Any incomes are derived from the business, but they are not directly related to the buying and selling. That is the trading activities are called as non-operating, non-trading. Keep in mind, trade means buying and selling. The incomes arising from the non-operating activities are, that is interest received from the investment. Means we are going to purchase the shares or debentures or government bonds. from our capital, and from those investments, being a company, it is going to get a certain returns called interest received. It is not from the goods, it is from the investment, that is capital asset. Next, interest received from debtors for late payment of debts. In certain cases, debtors may not paid within the given due date. Okay, and they may request for the enhancement of the time. For the enhanced time, the we being the traders, we are going to charge the interest. So the interest charged for the extended credit period is called interest received from debtors. That is also non-trading, keep in mind. Next, dividend received on shares, income from lottery, this is called casual incomes. The details of these casual incomes are to be studied in your income tax under that income from other sources. ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅದರ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸೆಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಏನೋ ಕ್ಯಾಶುಯಲ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಏನು ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇರಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸಾಕು. ಕ್ಯಾಶುಯಲ್ ಇತರೆ ಆದಾಯಗಳು, ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಡದೆ ಬೇರೆ ವಿಧಾನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಗಳಿಸಿದಂತ ಆದಾಯಗಳು ಕ್ಯಾಶುಯಲ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಲಾಟ್ರಿ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬೆಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ಸು, ರೇಸು, ಗೇಮ್ಸು, ಗ್ಯಾಮ್ಲಿಂಗು, ಆರ್ ಈವನ್ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಮ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಬೆಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್, ಅದು ಏನಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. That may be indoor games or outdoor games. That is, any incomes earned from the indoor and outdoor games comes under that of non-operating income. Next, donations and subscriptions received. ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಂದ ದಾನ ಧರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ನಾವು ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಏನೋ ಖರೀದಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು, ಮಾರಾಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಬೇರೆ ವಿಧಾನಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಟ್ರೇಡ್ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. ಟ್ರೇಡನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೇರೆ ವಿಧಾನಗಳಿಂದ ಗಳಿಸಿದಂಥ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸು, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಟ್ರೇಡ್, ಬೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಮೈಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕ್ ನೀವೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ದ ಸರ್ಟೈನ್ ನ್ಯೂ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುವರ್ income statement. Okay, income statement is nothing but profit and loss account. Comparative income statement, we are going to study the income statement of 2 years of a company or two different companies, like your comparative balance sheet. Comparative balance sheet ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆನೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಕಂಪನಿದು 2 ವರ್ಷ ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಎರಡು ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇನೆ, ನೀವು ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಸೇಮ್ ಕಾಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ balance sheet is to be applied here also. That is last year value, current year value, then actual or absolute change, which is to be calculated by deducting last year values from the current year value, and then finally we are going to get the percentage change. Same here, change divided by last year into 100. Same formula we are going to apply in case of comparative balance sheet. Okay, so income statement ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ಸ್ ಕಾಲಮ್ ಒಂದು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಕಾಲಮ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, same lines of your comparative balance sheet. Okay, so there hence the theoretical aspect of your income statement. I expect that already you are noted in your notes. ನಾನು ಮೊದಲು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ಕಾಪಿ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ. ಇವತ್ತು ಸಂಜೆ ಈ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟು ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎರಡದ್ದು ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ನನಗೆ ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಗ್ರೂಪಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ MA ಟೀಚ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಟೀಚ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಇದು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಗ್ರೂಪಲ್ಲೂ ಅಥವಾ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ನನಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಥಿಯರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಓವರ್. ಲೆಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್. ಕಳಿಸಿದೆ ನೋಡ್ಕಣ, ಇದೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಟೀಚ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೀದಾ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಕಳಿಸಿ. ಎಷ್ಟು 3 ದಿನ 4 ದಿನ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಅವತ್ತು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ ಅಂತ. ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಸಮೇತ ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿರಬೇಕು. ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಥಿಯರಿ ಇಸ್ ಓವರ್. ದೆನ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ format of problems. So may not be here. Commerce is balance sheet. Income state of problems. No, stop recording. So come to the problems on this comparative income statement. Note this problem. First problem ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಇದು. ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನೋ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಬರೀ ಪಿಂಡಲ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ನೋಟ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಬಿ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್. Come to the preparation of the comparative income statement. Just see the format given earlier. In the same procedure of the format here we are going to record. So first of all, what is to be taken? ಏನು ತಗೋಬೇಕು? First one is net sales. ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಬರಬೇಕು. What is the formula for sales? Sales minus sales returns. Sales is there. See the credit side of your P&L account given. ಇದು P&L account ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. From the following P&L account ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ನೋಡಿ, P&L account ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಳೆ ಹೆಸರು P&L account, ಹೊಸ ಹೆಸರು ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಹೆಸರು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. So sales is there, sales returns is not there. Therefore, the given sales itself is the net sales. So net sales is 1 lakh and 1,30,000. 1 lakh and 1,30,000. Let me record the remaining two columns at the end. Last ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. First data entry ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ. From the net sales, what is to be deducted? Fine, very good. Cost of goods sold, that is COGS ಅಂತ ಹಾಕಿರ್ತೀನಿ. ನೀವು ಅಬ್ರಿವೇಷನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬಹುದು. ವಾಟ್ ದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಗುಡ್ಸ್ ಸೋಲ್ಡ್? ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಗುಡ್ಸ್ ಸೋಲ್ಡ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್. P&L ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತವೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಡೆಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ P&L ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ನಾಮಿನಲ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ನೇಚರ್. ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ನಾಮಿನಲ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ದ ರೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ನಾಮಿನಲ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡೆಬಿಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಾಸಸ್. ಐ ಮೀನ್ expenses and losses are to be recorded on the debit side. Incomes and gains are to be shown on the credit side. Expenses ಬೇಕು, ಡೆಬಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ನೋಡಿ. ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು, ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ನೋಡಿ. ಈ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನು 1000 ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಗುಡ್ಸ್ ಸೋಲ್ಡ್ ಈಸ್ 72,000 and 78,000. So if cost of goods sold is deducted from the net sales, what we are going to get? ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ? Gross profit. Gross sales means sales minus, that is sales minus sales returns. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ದಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ, net sales, ಇದು ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. So 1 lakh minus 72,000 is equal to 28,000 and here it is 22,000. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದೇ ಡಿಟ್ಟೋ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಟು ದ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್. ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಲೆಸ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್. ಸಾರಿ, ಇದು ಎಸ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇರಲ್ವಾ, ಅದು 1,30,000. 52 is correct. Now expenses means just go to the debit side. In the debit side, leaving the cost of goods sold, depreciation, selling and display expenses, interest on debt. Here debt in the sense this is loan debt antivi. Provision for tax. So between among these four, which are the components belongs to operating expenses? ಇಟ್ ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಯಾವ್ದು ಬರ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಡಿಪ್ರಿಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಎರಡು ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಪ್ರಿಸಿಯೇಷನ್ and another is selling and distribution expenses. Selling and distributional expenses. ಇವೆರಡದು ಟೋಟಲ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ವಾಟ್ ದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಪ್ರಿಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್? ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡ್ರು ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಟೋಟಲ್ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡ್ರು ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡು ಸೇರಿ 13,000 ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಬಂದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಬರುತ್ತಪ್ಪದು? 18,000 ಆಯ್ತು. From this to this one we have to add, that is operating incomes. So operating incomes are nil. ಇದು ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಬಂದು, ಸೊ ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇವೆರಡೂ ಬಂದು ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆನ್ ಶೇರ್ಸ್, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇವನೇ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆನ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದು ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ನಾಪ್ಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇವೆರಡು ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಟ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪರ್ಚೇಸು ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರದ ಬೇರೆ ಮೂಲಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆದಾಯಗಳು. ಬೇರೆ ಮೂಲಗಳು ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಫೋರ್ ಇಯರ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಿಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಿ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ these operating incomes and expenses to the gross profit, what we are going to find? ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ? ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್, ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್. ಸೊ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಇದು ಲೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇರಲಿ. ಸೊ 28,000 minus 13,000 is equal to 15,000. And it is 34,000. 52. ಸೊ ಇದು ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ನಮಗೇನಾಯಿತು? ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಬಂತು. The operating profit, what we have to adjust to find the net profit? ನೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ನ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು? ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಫೈನ್ ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್. Which are the components of non-operating expenses there? Non-operating expenses ಏನಾದರೂ ಇದೆಯಾ? ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇವು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೊರಟೋಗ್ತವೆ. ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಲೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? ನಿಲ್, 0. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಆಡ್. ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್, ಇದಾವೆ. ಯಾವ್ದಿದಾವೆ? ಎರಡಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಅದು ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇವೆರಡು ಬರ್ತವೆ ಇವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಈಗ ಇವೆರಡದ್ದು ಟೋಟಲ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಆಯ್ತು. ಅಥವಾ ಸಪ್ರೇಟಾಗಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ತಪ್ಪೇನಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಆಯ್ತು. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಇನ್ ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಡ್ ಆನ್ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ 15 ಎರಡು ಸೇರಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ? 20 + 10 30,000 and here it is only 10,000. ಇದು ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ರೀ. ಇಲ್ಲ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ 1 ಲಕ್ಷ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ವಲ್ವಾ? ತಗೊಂಡ್ರಿ 1,30,000 ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಇದು ಫಾರ್ಮೆಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. 30,000 and here it is 10,000. So after adjusting this non-operating expenses and non-operating incomes, what we are going to get? ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ? ಎಂಥದ್ದು ಅದು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. Before interest and taxes. So that is 15,000 minus 30,000. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು -0 ಇದೆ. ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಅದೇ ಇದು ಆಡ್ ಇದು. ಸೊ 30 + 15 is equal to 45,000. 34 + 10 is equal to 44,000. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ನಾನ್ ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ನಮಗಲ್ಲಿ. From the net profit before interest and taxes, now there are these two components. ಇವೆರಡು ಮಾತ್ರ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಈಗ ಇವೆರಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಯಾವ್ದು ಲೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು? ಯಾವ್ದು ಲೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನೇ ಲೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಹಂಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಜೋಡಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಲೆಸ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ 15 and 14,000? ಸೊ 15,000 and 14,000 ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ as ನೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್. ಹಿಂಗಾದ್ರೂ ಕರಿಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ನೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಗೋದು ಕರಿಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಎರಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪದ ಸಾಕು. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್, ಎರಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಪದನ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಸಾಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡೂ ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇದನ್ನ ಲೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರಿಂದ 45 - 15 is equal to 30,000 and here also 30,000. ಎರಡು 30 ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತು. ಸೊ ನೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗೇನು ಹೋಯ್ತು? ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋಯ್ತು. ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತು. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, ಲೆಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್. ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಸಲ ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಈ ನೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆಯಲ್ವಾ, ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ದ ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ ಇಸ್ ಗಿವನ್, ಕೀಪ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ದ ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ ಆಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಅಪ್ಲೈಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ನೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಈ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಬಟ್ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಸೇಮ್ ರೇಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಸೇಮ್ ರೇಟ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮದು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ 15 ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಇದು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸಲ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಈಗ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಇದು 50% ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ 50% ಅಂತ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಈಗ 30,000 ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು 50% ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿ 15,000 ಬರುತ್ತೆ. 15,000 14,000 ಇದೆಯಾ? 14 ಬಂತು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ 15 ಇಲ್ಲಿ 14 ಅಂತ ಬಿತ್ತು. both the yes, the company is going to pay taxes at the rate of 50%. So then final answer is that is profit after taxes. ಸೇಮ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅರ್ಧ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಧ ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಓವರ್. Okay. So this is the way of presentation of income statement. ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದು ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಿ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು, ಸಿ ನಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ರೇರ್ ಕೇಸಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Over. So next, find the remaining two columns of the statement. It is just similar to your comparative balance sheet. What is the formula for actual change? Actual change, current year minus last year. That is 1,30,000 minus 1,00,000 is equal to 30,000. Percentages ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋರಂತ, ಈಗ ನೋಡ್ಕೊ ಒಂದೊಂದೇ ಕಾಲ ಫಿಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಅಷ್ಟು. Here this is 6,000 and this is 24,000. 24 minus 18 is equal to 6,000. 6,000 operating profit. This income salva. Then this is 30,000. Changes to this. 5 operating incomes is nil, 0. Therefore it is 19,000. ಸಾಕು ನಿಲ್ಸ್ಬಿಡಲ್ವಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬರ್ಬೇಕು. ನೀವೀಗ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 2 ಕಾಲಮ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬನ್ನಿ, ಇಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿಟೇಷನ್ ನಾನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ.